Hi, my name is Meleena James, and I'm with Fredonia Hill Baptist Church in Nacogdoches, Texas, and I have the honor and privilege of being the college director there with my husband, John James, and I just wanted to take a second and talk to you guys about small groups and what does that look like for your ministry, and what God has done with us in our small groups in our context. And so first, I just want to talk about Gen Z and why small groups are crucial to this generation and who we're reaching. Gen Z is seeking. They want to know. They want community and they want truth. They're seeking community and they're seeking truth. They are also willing. They're willing to have conversations. They're willing to ask questions. They are open. I have just seen students practice confession. I've seen them practice repentance. But the thing is all of those things happen in the context of small groups. There's not another place in the church body where those things can take place, and those are the needs of Gen Z. That is the needs of this generation, and the way that we meet those needs is through just facilitating healthy small groups. And so I'm just going to walk through key elements that we have just found necessary for a healthy small group. This is not a how. This is not curriculum. This is not content. This is just building culture and values that need to take place in your small groups. And then you can build the content and the structure around those things. So first, I just want to touch on hospitality. These environments, what students are walking into, there has to be a welcoming environment. They have to want to be there. I would just say, create a space that you want to be in. Do you want to be there? Is it fun for you? If it's not fun for you, if you don't even want to be there, they don't want to be there either. And then have fun. This generation needs to see believers having fun. They need to see that following Jesus is a joy, and that we get to party together. We get to joke around. We get to do things and live life abundantly, and that has to be on display. And then once we do that, it then brings about commitment. So once you're hospitable to a student and they belong in that group, belonging and commitment are tied together. I feel like we're always wanting students to come and belong and be committed. It's we want to see students from their freshman year all the way to their senior year be committed, but the key to that is, do they belong? Do they feel like they belong in that group? And that comes from bringing them in, welcoming them in. That brings about commitment, but commitment is also, are you there, are you genuinely their friend? Do you genuinely love them? I know I just practice, God, give me a heart to genuinely love these students that you've placed in front of me in this context, and just let that be the overflow. And I can just tell you that they'll keep coming back, even if they don't always agree with you, or even if they're not believers. If they're genuinely loved, they will be committed to that space and want to sit there and stay with you. The next thing is transparency. We have got to get better at asking good questions. I think we get frustrated about maturity level of 20-year-olds, but we're still asking them the same questions that we asked them when they were 5th grade about Jesus. And we have got to bring mature questions and really push them in this transparent way of getting into the hidden things of their life, and then giving them practical ways of how does following Jesus change that? How does following Jesus change the way that you live with your roommate? How does following Jesus change the way that you take tests and are a good student? But that comes in transparency and comes in being able to say, hey, I'm struggling with this, and asking questions that bring that out, but also being met with truth in a practical way in their context of how to serve Jesus. The last thing is challenge. So we have to consistently challenge students to follow Jesus, not just in a, hey, go make more disciples, but it's no, what does that mean? That means going and talking to that friend that nobody wants to talk to. That means sharing, actually sharing the gospel and resourcing them and giving them tools in order to do that. If you read through the Gospels, Jesus is constantly challenging his disciples to go deeper and for more. And so we have to be doing that every moment that we can. And then be encouraging. We can't have challenge without encouragement. It just doesn't work. And then the last thing that I would share with you is that your leaders matter. These things you can tell people, but there's only an extent that you can teach people people these things, but these things that I've just listed are spiritual gifts. Use people's giftings in the body that God has given you. Like actually use the spiritual gifts test, the things that you have in your database, and look at those people and go, hey, this job and what I'm looking for is a need that I need met. Can you step in that? And then once they step into that space, just giving them the freedom and flexibility to be who God has created them to be. I'll tell you, I'll throw structure and instructions out the window if I can just get my leaders to be who God has created them to be, and then give them the resources and the tools and empower them to do that. And can I just tell you, like, that has blown our small groups out of the water and has changed the game for us to just go, hey, here are spirit-filled leaders that are going to follow the structure and the guidelines, because that is still good, but also giving them the freedom to just be who God's created them to be, and know that that is what's best for our students. That's the best gift that we can give them, and lives are changed from that. That's kind of just the tips and tricks that I have, and I would just say take all of those different things and figure out, okay, how can I bring these things into the content, into the format that we already have running, and know that Gen Z, this generation, is hungry to be a part of these kind of conversations in these groups with one another and other believers.